Full moon in Sagittarius, you're going to hear me talk a lot about destination addiction and how detaching from outcome is going to be really the key to our success as we cultivate the ground and nourish it in order for us to be sowing and be reaping the rewards of the seeds of intent that we set. Now, there is a lot of ways in which we can do this, but I wanted to share some magic ways in which you can quickly draw yourself back into the journey and really be nourished by the journey. Now, these 3 tips are nothing groundbreaking. They're nothing you would have not heard before, but within the context of this full moon, I think it's important to reiterate them and share them with you just to remind you of them, and so you can have them more prevalently at your fingertips. So the first tip is bringing your awareness back into the present, and a big way I really like to do this, especially when my mind is racing in a million different directions, in a million different hopes and fears at the same time. So what I do is I just stop and I just label everything I can see and hear in that moment. So sitting in my space at the moment, I can look and say computer, microphone, book, table, notepads, lighting, coffee machine. So I can just bring myself back in and also labeling the sounds that I hear. And for that moment, it just brings me out of my racing thoughts and brings me straight back into at least acknowledging my present situation. So that's one way you can come straight back into the journey really, really quickly. Another way is to breathe. So most people do not breathe deeply and in a way that is nourishing enough for them. And then that kind of perpetuates that fight or flight response and perpetuates that moving into the future and back into the worries of the past. And then our breath, and then it's just a snowball effect. So deep breathing is really important. Try, if you can, to stop a few times a day to breathe deeply, where you take your breath in and your belly fills up with air all the way up to your chest, and then as you exhale, your chest goes in and finally your belly. Doing just 5 rounds of that breath a few times a day will absolutely calm your nervous system, which is really important in order to feel safe in the present, because we are so addicted to destination, we are so addicted to outcome that we don't feel that we can be nourished in the present, or we feel like we constantly have to change things to get there. So it kind of calms us down and holds us in this present moment. The breath is a really powerful tool. That is not necessarily breath work. If you are familiar with breath work, go and use those tools. If you're not, we need to get a specialist breath work on to the pod to talk about that. The last is like the classic gratitude. By expressing gratitude for the present, for what you're doing, for what you're accomplishing, for what you have created within your present reality, that is vibrationally going to align you with what? More to be grateful for. So that's actually going to push you up into a frequency of greater attraction to what it is that you want, because you're already grateful for what it is that you have. I think my battle personally with gratitude in the past has been, well, if I'm just grateful for this, does that mean I stop? Does that mean that I'm kind of signaling to the universe energetically and vibrationally that I'm just happy with this and they don't need to send me any more? Well, actually the opposite is true. Because once you do that, it's almost like you open the door for more to come in, because you can be in a state of deep appreciation for what is. It means that whatever you receive, you know you're going to hold beautifully and be even more grateful for that. When you're not grateful, when you're not in that place of gratitude because you're worried that can kind of signal a little bit of settling, you're going to then be constantly perpetuating into the future. Like, what I have now isn't good enough, so I want more. Straight away, we've moved into lack. We've moved into manifesting. Hate that word. We've moved into aligning from a place of lack and fear and dissatisfaction with what we have. So what does that perpetuate? More things to be dissatisfied by. So try those 3 tips to help bring you powerfully and quickly back into the present so that you can open to the unfolding and the excitement and the joy and the intrigue of the journey. And then that way, the destination naturally unfolds instead of us being addicted to it and waiting for happiness to hit us there.